Welcome to Narrative and Beyond with Michael Adekombi. Um, it's going to be an interesting episode today. I assure you of that. I have a CEO of one of the Pan-African companies in Nigeria, and the company is doing phenomenally well, impacting so many young people. But we're going to start from the conversation from who is this the person behind this organization, that is doing so well. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be discussing with him, how did he become the CEO of such an amazing organization and he's not the founder. Most times people are the founders, that's how they become the CEO, right? But he's doing so much incredible things and he's not the founder. He became the CEO from being an employee, like any other young person, became employees. So today is going to be different. The conversation is going to be different today. I'd like you to listen well and pay attention. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please look for Narrative and Beyond on YouTube and all other social media platforms. Today meet my guest today, Ore Boboe. Ore, nice to have you on this platform.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very delighted and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So, okay, what would you like to tell us about your upbringing, about your background? To the man you have become today, something must have happened in your background from being a lecturer's son, so to say.
yeah. I mean, it's been quite a journey, to be honest. So let me start from the very beginning. So I'm the first child of 3 children, 3 boys. I think in hindsight, I would say that I'm a natural leader. And I think I learned that because I led 2 other younger siblings, I think. I think that's the perk. I think I got the perk of being a first child to a large extent. Of course, the second part of it also is the kind of family I grew up in. So I grew up with my parents. They were actively in my life all through my developmental years. My dad being a pastor, my mom, a children teacher in church, so very high standards to get to start on, and then you now being their first child. And then professionally, I come from a family of teachers. Generally, my dad is a lecturer, my mom a teacher, so academia pretty much at the base of all of it. So we're very, very particular about school and academic success. Yes, that was a big deal when I was growing up. My father would not joke with that, when I was growing up. So I would say that, it's a combination of that brought up and the ideals that were kind of installed in me as a young child. Because when I look at my life retrospectively, it was not like I can't pinpoint like a particular aha moment. Like there are so many aha moments, but it was, for me, it has always been the same principles, like over and over and over again, that has always worked. And that's I would say, contributed to where I am today. And of course, the grace of God, you cannot run the grace of God, speaking and amplifying, every little thing that you do. So yeah, I would say that my family contributed to it, my upbringing contributed to it, and the fact that I was also privileged to lead 2 other siblings, as a first child, also contributed to that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Can you recall any memorable events in your childhood that shaped you today?
Quite a number. I'll pick one in particular. And I guess it's one that instilled in me the fear of God not to do wrong things. So I don't know if you experience this when growing up, especially with moms. So my mom will always tell me that our spirit follows me everywhere I go. I think it's true. And the reason is because I noticed that when I was in secondary school, I mean, there will be peer pressure to want to do some things that you naturally know that you're not supposed to do. So I remember on many occasions, for instance, it's people will do things, wrong things. But the moment I joined, the very moment I joined, we will all be caught. All of us will be caught. So, I mean, there was an instance, back then, because so I schooled in Obafemi Awolowo University International School. So the secondary school of the university. I grew up in Ife, so spent all of my formative years in Ife, and also went to the university. So in secondary school, because my school is in the school environment, right? And the staff quarters, OAU staff quarters, that's what we call it. So as at that time, my school was not fenced. So people or students would sometimes sneak out of school during school break with the excuse of, I want to go, the snack I want to get is not in the school cafeteria, so I'm going out to get it. And of course, it's against the school rules. As God we have it that day, I mean, for some weird reason, I never did. I had no reason to. I was like, let's join. Let's do this thing now. And for some weird reasons, I was caught not just by anybody, but by the school principal who knew me by name and also knows my parents.
Oh, wow.
I don't think my parents, till today knows about. I don't think they know about that, but yeah, the embarrassment alone was loud. And coupled with many other small experiences that I've had, and that kind of just drilled into my head that, look, all right, if when people are doing, you cannot find yourself in a cluster of evildoers. One, for your own good, because you will be embarrassed, and secondly, you are also they will be caught. The evildoers will be caught. So for me, I was like, oh, all right, joy. I'll be like, the moment I join you, that is the day they will catch you. So it has, that has shaped me. I stay away from evil. Yeah.
Awesome. That's very, very funny, but very true actually. Because I grew up in that kind of environment as well, so I can actually relate. I know that if I do something wrong, or I just join people to go against the school rules back then in secondary school, especially. Yeah. Before you get home or something, my mom would just start to question. She would just start to ask questions in a particular way that you just have to tell the truth. And you are wondering, you were not in school with me. How did you get to know that? You say, when I was praying or something, I just felt that you have done something wrong today. So it's better you tell me. Just complain.
I know, right?
Very, very interesting. Okay, leading to siblings. I grew up in a family of boys as well. We're 5 boys. And at times there is that sibling rivalry. At times you fight, and all of that. You quarrel with each other. You still love each other so much, but notwithstanding, you still fight. How were you able to bring that harmony? Because I know that you guys are still very close. How were you able to bring the harmony between you and your siblings as a leader?
That's a very good one. This is kudos to my parents. First of all, they never gave any impression of favorite child, even though I know my mom and my dad, I know they've got their favorite kids, but they would never say it, and we don't know, which is quite interesting. We don't know. So to a large extent, I give them that kudos to, and they also gave me the leeway to lead, right? So what for them, they did not necessarily name me leader, but they made me accountable. That was what they did. So they made me accountable. So for them, anytime they are not in the picture, the box stopped at my table. So I became responsible for actions that I could not even control. Right? So which meant that I needed to then start to negotiate. So I also learned negotiation, doing that. I needed to negotiate with my immediate younger brother. and our baby brother. I mean, and interestingly, also, I mean, between myself and my younger brother, I think we're just 2 years apart. So there was that tendency to want to say, I'm not too far away from you, in terms of age and all that. But I think to a large extent, I think they saw also some instances where I stood up to taking responsibility for things that they did, and they acknowledged that. I did so. The fact that they knew that they did those things, but I didn't throw them under the bus. And they witnessed the discipline. And this is something my parents did not withhold discipline. They didn't. So they saw me get disciplined for something that they did, but I was accountable for, right? And that was part of what kind of actually sealed that bond, between all of us. Where even to a large extent, even till now, say for instance, my mom wants to get things across to maybe my younger brother or my youngest brother, and probably she has had that conversation with any one of them, and they're like, no, we're not doing it, that. My mom comes to me and says, okay, all right, look, I know you can talk to your brothers. This is my thinking. And I'll be like, okay, where you're coming from makes sense. Okay, I'll talk to them, right? So they are also, even up till now, they listen to me, because
even as adults,
as adults, because they know that, to a large extent, I also feel very accountable to them. All right. And on top of that is, I never, I was not a dictator. So I was not a dictator. So I was quite benevolent, in everything that was made available at that time. And I see a lot of reflection from my experience then as a young boy, even at my workplace today, right? Because it's the same thing. The principle of leadership is the same thing, across board. Where be it dealing with your family members, your siblings, or professionals at work, right? Even dealing with professionals at work, maybe it's even a lot easier and simpler compared to family. Because professionals at work, you've got templates. You've got, this is what is professional. With family, there is no template. There is no, you just have to, manage it, that way. So for me, I would say that that was part of what shaped me, to actually build my leadership muscles. And I saw opportunities also, when I was in university, out of school, to lead in small clusters, and to be able to then grow that muscle to say, oh yeah, this is actually a good principle to live by, and I've always continued to live by those principles. Yeah.
So what would you say it's your most important leadership principle?
So, okay, there are a couple, but I'll start with one: clarity. You cannot be you cannot be an influential leader or a great leader if you're not clear. And people around you smell it and they know it when you're not clear. So when there is absolute clarity and understand, and when I say clarity, I don't mean that you know everything. Clarity can just be clarity of purpose. Clarity can be clarity of direction. Clarity can be clarity of destination. So you can have clarity of destination and you are not clear about the direction, but you are clear about something. So it is now when there's absolute clarity, right? Then all the other things now start to jump into it. When you're clear about something, then transparency. So what do I mean? So let's say, for instance, I'm clear about a destination, but I don't know the direction. I don't know how to get there, but I'm clear. This is the destination where we need to get to. I am transparent enough, right, with the people around me to let them understand that this is the level of visibility that I have, and this is where I need help. Now, and that is one thing that has also helped me a lot, even in my journey, right? Up till now, which is, of course, when I'm true to myself and I'm clear to myself and I'm clear to the people around me, it also allows me then find for myself what is needed to get to where I need to get to, or where we need to get to. So in that case, it could be oh, you know what? I don't have this particular skill set. And I'm true to myself that I don't have that skill set. I am not going to wing it. I am not going to pretend that I have it. I am going to be true to myself that I don't have it. Such that when I bring you on board to come and work with me, right, I am clear. And I'll make it very clear. I'll tell you, this is what I know more than you, right? But this is how I expect you to overperform what I would do, right? If you are in my team for any reason, my expectation is that whatever specific thing you are hired to do or you have been brought in to do, you know it more than I do. But trust me, I know some things about this. So yeah, I do. So for me, so it's clarity, you know, transparency, being true to yourself, being true to your self-awareness. One of the reasons why we have a lot of you know, the dictatorship type leadership these days, or megalomania leadership, is that a lot of people that have been opportune to be leaders are not self-aware about a couple of things. And because they are not self-aware, they find it difficult to know how to complement themselves in terms of weakness. And people around you know when you are unsure about yourself. And when they see that, what they now start to do is they start to pump you up on your areas of weakness. They pump you up so exactly. So instead of them to get the truth to you as to what needs to be done, but because they know you have a weakness in that area and they know you are not fully self-aware, right? It's going to be a sore point for you. So they massage your ego in that area, and things will, you know, so you will feel good about yourself, like, oh, I know this thing, right? Great. But they are the same people that would, you know, laugh behind you and tell you, and say, oh, he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. And it's true, you don't know it. But they will keep propping you up, you know, to let you feel good and great about yourself. Because, I mean, at the core of every human nature is survival. And your people around you believe that, you know, if you are the authority for them to retain their jobs or whatever they are doing, they massage your ego. You know? So self-awareness is important. It's important. So clarity, either clarity of purpose, clarity of direction, clarity of whatever needs to be done, transparency, and also understanding yourself. Pure self-knowledge, right? It's important. It's important. Yeah. So those are, for me, those three things, major things.
Okay, so it means, from what you just said now, it means that it's very easy for a leader to breed that atmosphere of psychophancy around himself without him even knowing that that's what he's trying to do. I think we see this in the public space, in the political space. You know, everywhere in the world, this thing is happening, really. Especially within our climate in Africa, you see a lot of people who are saying, no, don't worry, you are the best thing that's ever happened to this country after slice of bread, you know, as they say, you know. And so how can a leader ensure that, there's a word I'm looking for now. How can a leader ensure that can a leader ensure that he or she eliminates that tendency to breed psychophancy around themselves? Because, for instance, for me, I always look for people who varies in everything. That's people I want to listen to. I listen to everybody, right? But I always want to listen to someone who varies with me, with my opinion, my perspective, you know, just to ensure that, because if everybody is facing the same direction, there's a problem, you know. Yep. So how can a leader eliminate that? Yeah, psychophancy.
So, I mentioned earlier, I said that it's, you know, it's human beings would naturally go towards self-preservation, right? And the thing with and when people understand that their ability to survive, it depends on your approval, they will seek that approval, right? As fast and quickly as, because that's the easiest thing to survive. I mean, if my survival depends on your approval, I will seek your approval. And so it now means that as a leader, you then need to create systems, right, that would disincentivize, you know, people just cowering to your approval. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, your approval is needed or sought after to move forward. However, it's important that you also understand, you let people around you know that their opinion carry weight. It is important to let people know that even if they have the varying opinion against yours, they have the right to have clear conversations with you. And not just with you, but even as a group. So let me give an example. The way I typically make decisions, for instance, at my workplace is, so I have a team of about 7 people that report to me, 7 senior managers that report to me, and I have it. So let's say I have a topic, maybe HR sensitive, that would impact staff members. I come to the meeting with a very interesting opinion, but I keep it to myself first. So I will read out the agenda. This is the agenda. Then I throw it open. Like, I would like to hear your thoughts. I mean, sometimes people want to hear you first, so that they then lean into you. So when it's quiet, when it's completely quiet, I can start off by calling names and say, "Oh, you know what? I would like to hear your thoughts." Or because it's HR, then I call my head of people and culture. You are the subject matter expert in this. What do you think we should do? Okay. And then she says her piece. And then every other person then say their piece, because they are now saying it as it affects their business units. Right. And then we have those conversations. And then I pick out those argument points. So for me, what I'm noting down is how far away was my initial opinion versus what is generally accepted across board. How far away is it, right? But if I believe very, very strongly that the way I've identified it based off some other information that I have, that they don't have, that I also cannot give them, right?
True.
What I then start to do is I try to push them in a certain direction, right? So that by the time we are done with that meeting, it will come across as though we collectively landed at that point. It's a longer way, but it is the most efficient at the long run. Why? Because when the implementation now happens, right, you are not screaming, you are not kicking,
they will own it.
Check-ins. They own it. It is theirs 100%. So it is important that as the leader, you build a system that disincentivize, that idea of always leaning to you. You know that as a leader, if you have your opinion about something, your job is to win your leadership team in. So I mean, some people say, "Oh, some certain situations require you to, hit it on the nail and blah, this is the way to go, and that is it." Yeah, I've tried it. I got results. It was not the most easiest of results, right? So what I've always found out is, and when you continue to do this, you get there faster and better, because your team gets used to you, you get used to the team, and you know how quickly and how fast to get them to that, that point, that focal point where you all agree, and then you're able to pass on to them ownership. Yeah.
Awesome. So who is Ore? I don't want to focus on you being the CEO of Jobaman, a Pan-African organization right now. First, who is Ore behind? Who is the Ore behind the CEO of Jobaman? Maybe that's the way to put it.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I mean, so I'm where do I start? So I'm a Christian. That's the first thing. I'm a born again Christian, so I'm a child of God. Very reserved, by the way. Very, 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 very reserved. For people that are probably after this podcast will go check my socials, you will not find anything. So yeah, I'm very reserved, very quiet. I'm a typical back office person, actually. So I'm very operational driven. I love things. I love excellence, and I understand that excellence is not delivered by great speeches. Excellence is delivered by hard work, grit, hard work, and depth. Right. So excellence comes out of depth of knowledge and depth and and the creative delivery. So you understand something deeply, right? And you're also able to deliver that thing creatively. So so that is why I am typically, and that's how I approach things every time, everywhere. That's how I approach life in general. That's how I approach my job. That's how I approach my marriage. So yes, I'm married. I have two beautiful daughters. And yeah, I'm a son to dad and mom, and I've got two siblings. yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's me. Yeah.
Awesome. A question came to my mind now. You started out from being more of an IT professional, data analyst, and all of that, BI, that's business intelligence, and all of that. And you joined Joberman as an employee, just like every other person, right?
Yes.
How did you evolve in a very short time and at a very young age, to becoming COO first, then to becoming the CEO of the organization in the past few years? And you've transformed the organization to a world-class organization today. How did it happen? People will say maybe it's luck.
I mean, well, I would say that first of all, I think I would say that time and chance happened. That was, first at the base of it. Time and chance found me at the right place. However, at the base of it also, remember I mentioned that I'm an operator. I'm very obsessed with how things work.
Process.
Right? Process. So at a very young age, I've been very, very obsessed with how things work. My dad will attest to that. So many things that I broke down because I really wanted to understand how they worked. Right? TV, radio, whatever it is, name it.
Were you able to couple them back?
That's why I studied electronics, electrical engineering. I guess I felt guilty that I needed to put all those things back, But yeah, I've always been very, very obsessed with how things work, and I also, for me, I was also very particular about learning, learning and also learning how to learn. I think the first time I saw something like that was with one of my lecturers, who is now my favorite lecturer. We still communicate, an amazing influence in my life. I saw him reading a book one time, and the book was how to read. It was reading how to read. He was reading a book on how to read. And I was like, this is interesting. And he was like, yeah, that there are methods to doing things. That you naturally know how to do it does not mean that there is no principle behind it. It is when we lose the ability to do it that we remember. E.g., if you lose the ability to work, that's when you know that there's a method to work. That's when someone will explain to you the physics behind it and what you need to do to actually work. But because it comes to us naturally, we are not appreciative of the principles behind it. So one of the things that helped me and stayed with me and is still with me till now is that for everything I find myself in, I try to find the first principle. Why and how is it working? Because it is at that point I'm able to influence outcomes and results. So I joined Joberman as a data analyst because I was at that point in my life obsessed with data. Before that time, I had worked with a startup organization. The beauty of working with a startup is that you're everything.
Yeah.
You are everything, Yeah. So I learned a lot, in a very short time about marketing. I learned about marketing, data, software development. Though my core then was software development, I was a developer then, on the team. I learned market product fit, I learned sales. I learned everything. It was amazing. It was an amazing 1 year of my life, which I think to a large extent, yeah, even if I didn't pay for it, even if I was not paid for it, it was a good experience to have. I got into that startup. I didn't have ambition. I didn't get there because I was looking for a job. I got in because there was a bet on me to be able to contribute my quota, into that organization. And that formed the basis of my, corporate experience. So unfortunately, the startup failed, which was a good lesson also for me at that period, because it shaped my relationship with failure completely. I realized that failure is not an end. Failure is not an end. Failure is it can be a state. So it's a state that you can then change. It's a changeable state. Because failure can then be a launch pad to something. All right. But failure is not an end, and failure is not a passive. So the idea of, this person is a failure is wrong, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. It's a state, of things. So so it failed at that period. Of course, I had enough opportunity to reflect and understand. I found out what happened and why it failed. So at that time, I was obsessed with data, and then I was introduced, and so I was introduced to one of the co-founders of Jobberman at that period, and the person that introduced me to the co-founder was the CEO of the startup that that failed. That failed. So and I know that for him to have done that introduction, it meant that there was a level of impact that he saw in me. We didn't fight. It was not an acrimonious exit, right? It was a mutual good friendship. By the way, we are still friends up to today, right? Awesome. And he felt, I need to introduce you to this person, right? And he did. So he introduced me. So I had a conversation with then the CIO of Jobberman, Chief Innovation Officer, and also one of the co-founders. And we got talking, and we're like, okay, this is what you want to do, blah, 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 blah. And interestingly, I actually started working with another company, right, called Ugos. I think it's now Go 54. I think, I think they changed names recently. So I was with that company for I think a year before I now eventually joined Jobberman.
Really?
So yeah. So I joined Jobberman as a data analyst. That time, Jobberman had over 1 million, subscribers, job seekers on the platform. Jobberman was still like very platform based, but we're also testing out our consulting arm, just trying to. So Jobberman was at the testing phase, at that time, and so I got in, and I started. All I was doing was crunching data. So we need this data for this report, all right. You need this data for this customer pitch, all right. So then for me, I was like, okay, I understand how to do this data thing, but I want to understand what you're using it for so that I can better serve you. So I took a second step, and the second step was your next client meeting. Can I be a part of it so that I can better prepare, so that I can tweak my data, all right, in a way that the client will actually understand, so that it's not just what the instruction you're giving me, but because I have a direct link to where you want to present it, makes sense to you. My stakeholders are like, okay, that makes sense. So I joined, and that taught me a lot of things, right? So I started learning, this is how we pitch our product. This is all of our products. Okay. Say for instance, I remember I used to supply data to our then CEO for his board meetings and all that. After a while, I was like, okay, you know what? Instead of me giving you a list of data points in an email, I'm going to share the document I will share with the shareholders with you. And I want you to input the data points into this. So I moved from then being a data analyst to then being, coming up with insights. So I started now writing narration. So I write narrations, put in the data points, put in the graph, and whatnot, put a draft narration. And then, of course, he would then go back in there, they write the narration. But one of the things that that he did, this then CEO, DG, was he gave me the gift of access. And the access in the sense that, so while he's changing those things, I can still see them. So that the next time I am now working on that document, I have an idea of the tone. And then what happened was his correction became less and less and less for every iteration. Okay? Till I became the owner of his board deck.
Wow.
So and then from there, our questions and all that. And then I started doing things with all the other business units, like how do we ensure that our financial reporting speaks to sales? How do we ensure that we're not waiting till the end of the month when we do our financial reporting for sales to get feedback on where we are at, for revenue. Okay. Then we started developing dashboards. It was also around that time, that there was a transformation within the organization, and became a part of the bigger family, the Ringyard family. So Ringyard, of course, being a Swiss company, came with a lot of operational expectations, structures and all that. So I was plugged into that fully, like absorbing everything as much as I could, at that period, because things were changing. Of course, when things change, there are two sides to change, by the way. There's this interesting quote that I have, in my head. That you get to a point in your life that your experience has nothing to do with where you came from and your background, but your choices. You get to a stage in life, you just know, that your experience right now. So at that point, and that was important for me. So I became very conscious of the kind of choices I was making. What was important? What was not important? What am I getting myself into? What am I not getting myself into? What part of this thing would influence the business positively, right? What rooms should I get into? What rooms should I get out of? And because of that, after a while, I became very all-rounder. And what that made it very weird was, there was a time when German had a flat structure. So it was like the founders and everybody, right? Maybe there were a few managers, right? At some point. So we had the head of admin, and then we had the head of HR, right? But that was pretty much every other person it was like a semi-flat structure, sort of. So I became one of those middle guys, right? It was not very clear, but it was there. So you just know that, okay, if you need something about something, if you ask Ore first, Ore will point you to the right direction, right? And, again, continuously absorbing as many things as I could. And then I think the turning point for me was when I saw the need to let go. And that was where I displayed my leadership ability for the first time. And I think probably that was also, a lot of people picked that up, right? When I needed to build a team and I needed to forgo, because you get to a point in a company, you are the choke point. Everybody comes to person. You, and it's a go-to person. And it's a nice place to be. You're proud, you're happy, everybody's coming to you, CEO is calling you, person's calling you. But then you realize that you don't have a life because everybody is connected to you, right? And then there was a need for me to then build a team. There was a need to build out, our business intelligence, unit, which of course was part of the requirement from the Ringyard business. And it was not just for Java and Nigeria, but it was also for all of the businesses in Africa at that time. So there was a need for me to then, work with a team. So I built a team. And then I started handing over all of those things to them, right? And then it became, all right, we need this. And I'll be like, next time when you want to do this, just send it to this email address, this group email address, pick it up from there, and bam, good to go. And to a large extent, that freed me to then see other things, all right? Other areas of improvement that I could work on, either internally, and then also I was not too, as much as I'm reserved, I was not timid. So I'm a reserved person, but I'm not timid.
There are two different things.
When I need to get things done, I get things done. So
will you call yourself an introvert? Naturally I am. Okay.
Naturally I am. Yeah.
There's something I'm going to ask you a question on that, because there's been that misconception, so to say, I believe, about those people who are introverts in nature, that they can't really lead well because most times they are quiet in the room. They are often not heard, and I've seen it in different workplaces that I've been. I'm going to pause now. Viewers, I'd like you to just stay tuned. I'm coming back with this, and by the time we come back for the part 2 of this episode with Ore Boboyi, the CEO of Jobaman, we're going to take it from there. Thank you, and stay tuned.